A search for Nancy Guthrie tonight at a chilling turning point.
The Pima County Board of Supervisors discussed Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos once again at their meeting today. It comes after growing concern regarding Nanos and the Pima County Sheriff's Department.
A document landed on a clerk's desk at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. It arrived inside a county administration building in Pima County, Arizona. It was 22 pages long. It had one signature at the bottom. That signature did not belong to the sheriff. You need to understand what that means before anything else. The Pima County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to compel Sheriff Chris Nanos to answer questions under oath. Every supervisor, every political affiliation, one vote. They invoked a law so old it predates Arizona statehood. The deadline was 10 business days. The requirement was sworn testimony. In person, on the record, hand raised. On the day that deadline expired, the sheriff did not walk into the hearing room. He did not raise his right hand. He did not speak into a microphone. He sent his lawyer instead. That choice tells you something before you have heard a single fact about what the letter contains. We are going to show you exactly what his attorney admitted in writing, and exactly why the sheriff's own sworn testimony already contradicts it. By the end of this video, you will understand why a unanimous board still does not have the one answer they actually asked for. And in the middle of all of this, an 84-year-old woman named Nancy Guthrie has been missing since January 31st. Her family is still waiting. The tip line is still open. The department running that search is commanded by the man who let his lawyer speak for him. In December of 2025, under federal oath, Sheriff Chris Nanos was asked one question about his career. He gave one word. That word was no. If this is your first time on this channel, we follow every case until there is an answer. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next update lands here the same day it breaks. To understand what the lawyer just admitted on paper, you have to go back 44 years. To a department in Texas most people in Tucson never knew existed. In March of 2026, the Arizona Republic submitted a records request to the El Paso Police Department in Texas. What came back was 93 pages, 6 years of documentation, 1976 to 1982, the full span of Chris Nanos's first career in law enforcement. That file is now public. Every major outlet covering this case has worked from the same pages. Here is what those pages contain, and we are starting where the file starts, because honest reporting demands it. In 1979, 3 years into his El Paso career, Chris Nanos saved his partner's life on duty. His department formally recognized him for it. 1 year later, in 1980, his department named him Officer of the Year. Those are not minor honors. A department does not hand its top annual distinction to an officer by accident. Those commendations belong in this record. They sit in the same file as everything else you are about to hear. Between July of 1979 and June of 1982, Nanos was suspended 8 separate times. Not one incident, not one supervisor. 8 documented disciplinary actions across multiple years and multiple commanding officers. The categories on those forms include habitual tardiness, gambling on duty, insubordination, dereliction of duties, making false statements, threatening a witness who had filed a complaint against him, and using a profanity-laced insult directed at women. 32 days of documented suspension, 37 days total off the job for disciplinary reasons. The longest suspension was 15 days. The date on that notice is March of 1982. The category entered on the form is excessive force. Here is what that category means in the underlying incident report. Officers responded to a Circle K convenience store in El Paso. A suspect was placed in handcuffs, wrists behind his back, already in custody. Nanos struck him in the head with a flashlight. The man bled. He was hospitalized. The 1982 employer's departure form describes Nanos's exit from the department in 6 words. Resignation in lieu of termination. When Nanos later applied to the Pima County Sheriff's Department, his resume listed his El Paso tenure as running through 1984. His actual departure was 1982, 2 years that did not exist on paper until someone checked. Question was 4 words long. The answer was 1. And that 1 word is the reason a unanimous board invoked a law older than Arizona itself. You need to know who put Chris Nanos under oath and why, because the context makes the sworn answer impossible to dismiss. Sergeant Aaron Cross is the president of the Pima County Deputies Organization, a labor union representing roughly 300 sworn deputies inside PCSD. In 2024, during the run-up to the Pima County Sheriff election, Nanos's department placed Cross on administrative leave. The stated reason was that Cross had campaigned for Nanos's opponent while wearing clothing too close to an official PCSD uniform. Cross sued. He alleged retaliation for constitutionally protected political speech. That federal lawsuit produced the deposition where Nanos sat across the table from opposing counsel in December of 2025 and answered questions under oath. Counsel asked whether Nanos had ever received discipline as a law enforcement officer. Nanos said yes. Counsel then narrowed the question specifically to suspensions. Nanos said no. Both answers are sworn. Both are in the transcript. And sitting behind that transcript is a 93-page file from Texas documenting 8 suspensions across 3 years. Now the attorney's letter arrives. It builds 3 specific moves to explain the sworn answer, and you need to understand all 3. 1. The scope move. The letter argues Nanos's PCSD record contains 0 suspensions, and that is accurate. But the deposition question did not ask about PCSD. It asked about his career as a law enforcement officer, which began in El Paso in 1976. 2. The context move. Surrounding deposition questions referenced Arizona's peace officers' Bill of Rights. The letter argues this narrowed the suspension question by implication, but the question contained no such boundary, and Nanos never asked for clarification before answering. 3. The knowledge move. After the deposition, Nanos reportedly told his attorney he had misunderstood the question. Federal perjury under Title 18 requires a false statement be made knowingly. That post-deposition notification is not a narrative detail. It is a legal shield built in advance. At the March board meeting, Cross addressed the supervisors directly. Nanos is unfit to wear the badge. His reaction to the attorney's letter, 4 words, chock full of lies. The letter is not sworn. The statute required sworn answers. A lawyer's signature cannot substitute for an oath. Drop your read in the comments right now. When a federal deposition asks whether you were ever suspended as a law enforcement officer, does "I misunderstood the question" hold up? Tell me what you think. The letter doesn't just respond to the board. It constructs something the board never asked for: a legal defense for a charge that hasn't been filed yet. Walk through those 3 moves again slowly, because each one is doing specific legal work. The scope move narrows a career-wide question to one employer after the fact. The context move asks you to accept that a witness can privately reframe a question without asking for clarification on the record. The knowledge move, the most important one, places a post-deposition notification in writing before any prosecutor has looked at the file. Federal perjury under Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 1621, requires 4 elements: oath, documented; statement, documented; materiality, arguable. But the question was directly about disciplinary culture in a disciplinary retaliation lawsuit. Knowledge of falsity, contested. That 4th element is exactly what the letter's 3rd move was engineered to neutralize. No perjury charge has been filed against Chris Nanos. No federal prosecutor has filed one. No state prosecutor has filed one as of this recording. An allegation is not an indictment. A board vote is not a prosecution. That distinction is non-negotiable. What is also non-negotiable is the operational cost running parallel to every page of that legal response. Retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffin Daffer told Newsweek that preparing a response to the board's sworn testimony demand would consume the sheriff's time and his staff's time for days, likely including weekends. An absolute distraction, her words. Every hour of preparation is an hour not spent on an active missing person investigation. Dr. Richard Carmona served 30 years at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. He is a former United States Surgeon General. He told Fox 10 Phoenix that in his assessment, Nanos has lost his way in the handling of the Guthrie investigation. 30 years inside that department, former federal appointment. On the record, if careful reporting is what you come here for, the like button takes 1 second and it keeps this kind of coverage in front of people who need to see it. A 30-year veteran of the department says publicly the sheriff has lost his way on a missing person case. Leave your read below. What does that tell you about where this investigation actually stands? The letter is on paper. The board has not closed the question. And somewhere in Tucson, a family is still waiting for a phone call that has not come. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She was dropped off at her home in the Catalina Foothills on the evening of January 31st, 2026. She did not appear at a friend's house the following morning. Investigators found drops of her blood on her front porch. FBI surveillance footage shows a masked individual wearing gloves, carrying a backpack, approaching her home and tampering with a doorbell camera. That subject has not been identified. She has not come home. A hair sample recovered from her residence was sent by the Pima County Sheriff's Department to a private laboratory in Florida. The FBI had requested that same sample 2 months earlier. The Bureau's own assistant director named the department publicly on record when the sample finally arrived. We are not telling you that decision was wrong. We are placing 2 facts next to each other. You decide whether they connect. The board's options remain open. Compel in-person sworn testimony, subpoena documents, refer the perjury question to the county attorney, invoke the removal clause. None of those paths is automatic. Everyone requires another vote. The sheriff has not spoken. The letter has a lawyer's name at the bottom. The family is still waiting. Tell me in the comments, does the board accept this letter, or do they compel him to show up himself? This channel covers every update the day it happens. Subscribe before you click away. The next vote, the next filing, the next break. In this case, lands here first. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Nancy Guthrie, FBI tip line 1-800-CALL-FBI. Pima County Sheriff's Department 5203-514900. Online at tips.fbi.gov. She has not come home.